Yo, what's up? Welcome to episode 30 of the RUDIS Wrestling Podcast. And Matt, we're going to start off a little philosophical today. Uh, I like getting your take. You coached for a long time, you wrestled, and I posed a question on my Mental Monday yesterday. So I don't know that I answered the question. I just kind of gave feedback. And so you guys don't know, you can find the Mental Mondays on the rudis.com. Just go into the media section, you'll find it down there. So the question was, I was reading this book and I was already thinking about doing this Mental Monday talk, and I didn't exactly know how I wanted to phrase it. And I was reading this book, and the quote says, and so we're just going to take this guy at his word because he says, I've seen research. So we're going to assume that he's correct in his research. He says, I've seen research that says that people respect certainty more than truth. They'll forgive you for being wrong, but they won't forgive you for being nuanced or uncertain. And I thought that was a really fascinating statement. And so here's where I want to go with this in wrestling, Matt. And so you can tell me if I'm wrong. I always hated the coach when I was a kid that said, do it this way because I'm the coach. Do it, And so, especially with my, and this is high level high school wrestling, so we're not even to college wrestling yet. But I feel as though you absolutely have to be nuanced and you can't give kids real answers because say you're finishing, I think I use leg riding defense on the Mental Monday as my example. But when you get in there in leg riding defense, there are just so many little nuanced parts of it based on the opponent's feel that you got to be able to feel your way out of there. You can't just say you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you're out. Like that's just not the way it works. So I feel like as a coach, I have to be nuanced. I can't give them exact answers. And I realize kids get frustrated with me when they say, how do I get out? And I say, I can't give you that exact answer. Here's what I can give you. I can give you your options and you're going to have to figure it out. Do you think I should be more exact, more certain, or do you think it's fair to try to explain to them the whole truth once they're a higher level high school wrestler?
No, I think if you limit them and tell them exactly what they need to do, it defeats two things that you want to accomplish as a coach. Number one would be you want guys to get to the point where they can think for themselves, right?
Oh yeah,
And
absolutely.
and so it's like, hey, figure this out. Like I could tell you, I could give you the easy answer and tell you this is exactly how to do and take the thought process out of the equation for you. But at a certain point, if you don't learn how to think for yourself, you're going to reach a glass ceiling in the sport.
Yes, I agree.
Um, and number two, if you do buy into that vein of thought, like I'm just going to give you a cookie cutter system, you know, and you as the coach, and you say, do it this way. This is the only way to do it. Just don't think. Well, I think you're also doing a disservice to the kid in the sense on the flip side of things, you're always teaching kids how to dream, how to believe, how to think outside the box, right? How to
Yeah. Yep.
develop goals and to develop things. And when you tell them only do a certain thing a certain way, and this is how it needs to be done, you're kind of defeating the other side of the developmental aspect from a mental standpoint. Is like, hey, I don't want you to put any limitations on yourself. And when you're doing that with your goals and your dreams and your ambitions, but then you're limiting a kid in the other sense to how he can wrestle and how he needs to execute, I think
Yeah.
you're sending a mixed message there. So absolutely, the
Okay.
way you're handling things are absolutely the way to go.
Well, you get
I
so
mean, if you're
you got
thinking
me. No,
about
you got me feeling good on it. That's kind of the way I was thinking. And then I read this, and I think there is definitely and so obviously with our little kids, we tell them what to do because they don't know how to think on the right level yet. But I think there is a certain, it's like a safety blanket if you just tell someone this is how you do it. It makes them feel all warm and fuzzy inside, even though it's not the full truth. You know what I'm saying? And so I think maybe there is a little bit of a balance there. Maybe you don't always, and I think maybe I'm guilty of giving too much detail at times, so maybe we don't always need to give the detail. But yeah, I thought that was a really interesting statement. I'd never seen it explained or said in that way. I probably want to go find the original research that this guy, the author, had on that topic because I think it's a pretty fascinating topic.
Yeah, I think in addition to that, when you tell a kid exactly what to do, it does give them a level of comfort and a level of security. Like, okay, if coach tells me I got to go out, I got to wrestle like this, I got to execute like this. If he tells me, if Ben Askren is telling me to do this, if it's good enough for him, it's good enough for me. But at a certain point, you're also probably setting yourself up to be questioned, right? Because
Well,
when he
yeah,
goes out and executes a technique the exact way you told him to do it and it doesn't work, he's going to be saying, "Coach, what's up? Like
yes,
you told me if I did this, I was going to win, or I was going to score, or I was going to have success, and
yep,
all of a sudden, you told me and it didn't work." So, does that actually set you up to be questioned down the line by
yeah.
your athletes?
That and obviously and then lose faith, because if you're saying things with such certainty and then it doesn't work out, maybe the first couple times they give you a pass on it, but then eventually down the road, they're just gonna say, "Well, man, he's telling me that stuff and it doesn't work." So, yeah, interesting topic. Let's get on to wrestling. We had so much this weekend. I think what we want to start out with Penn State, Michigan, which is gonna, we're gonna do a live podcast. I think it's gonna be in studio now before Ohio State, Penn State this week. I thought Penn State. I didn't get to watch it live. I got to watch it all. I'm gonna thank Big Ten Network. They're putting those the clips up on YouTube so fast from the ones that aren't on TV or the ones that are on TV, which is fantastic. Um, I thought Penn State, Michigan, fantastic dual meet, great crowd. I loved it. I don't know which match you want to start with because I think there's a handful that we want to talk about here.
Yeah, I don't think we need to talk about the overall duel. The quality was great. The
Yes.
production was great. The attendance was great. I think they sold out the Bryce Jordan Center again, 16 plus thousand people. So, another great capacity crowd, for the sport of wrestling. Overall, really high level wrestling across the board. But I don't think we need to
Uh,
talk about
not
it in general. Let's talk about some of the specific matchups.
Sorry, I'm gonna take us off track. Now that you said that, man, I would really like to see an average attendance of like this year versus 10 years ago. I just feel like people are putting so much more effort into selling out. We're gonna talk about Rutgers, Princeton, the rack was sold out, huge crowd. Penn State was sold out. Ohio State felt like it was sold out 2 weeks ago. Man, just huge crowds all around. So that's awesome. Um, I don't know. I guess the first one to me that was interesting. Nick Lee's store was kind of, I thought that might be interesting, but it's kind of dominating. Obviously, we didn't see RBY. Nolf Pantaleo, because I read about it first and I watched it second, and what I read didn't equal what I saw.
Really? So
Yeah.
what did you read? Because I didn't
Well,
really read anything. I did watch the match, but I didn't read anything.
I read that it was Nolf's next topic, and so listen, in all fairness, I'll tell you, Jason Nolf's my favorite college wrestler right now. Absolutely is. And people were saying he made a statement, Nolf next topic. And when I watched the match, um, I know the score was 9-2. I get that, right? It's a really freaking competitive match, Matt. Um, Nolf gets the first takedown, gets the turn at the end of the first period. But starting at the second period, um, Nolf got 2 escapes and Patelio got 1 takedown. I mean,
Yeah, I mean
and
the last 4 minutes were basically dead even.
yeah, even I would slide towards Pantaleo because he got the takedown, I mean, it's 2-2-2
Yeah.
score, obviously. But the other thing, and then thinking about it afterwards is like, hey, and the one takedown that Jason Nolf did get was off of Alec Pantaleo's shot. He hit we call it essentially the Sanderson steal, and it kind of went in and they got a drag go behind. But that was off Pantaleo's shot. So I don't know. And this seems insane. I don't know that Jason Nolf got to his legs at all. Did he?
Off his own
Off
generated
his own
attack?
attacks? I don't think so.
No, I don't believe so. But also, I think that was part of it. It definitely felt that Pantaleo, for the most part, was trying to just keep him at bay. I mean,
Really?
Nolf, I thought Nolf was dictating pace, dictating action, and Pantaleo was trying to keep him at bay. But then, and I think Nolf is subject to get taken down on times because I wouldn't say he's over aggressive, but he
Well,
wrestles without a
yeah.
conscience. So I mean,
Yes.
he's going out, he's trying to create things, and occasionally, you know, Pantaleo just kind of blasted right through that finish, and it was
But
a very clean attack.
sure. So the things I've seen in the past, and obviously the Pentalio Nolf match is really close next year. So that last year, so it's someone who gives him issues. But if you think of like Nolf Kemmerer, right? Or a match like that where the guy's really tough. What we've seen is that it's been close earlier, and then Nolf starts to open it up and open it up and open it up. And that's why when I saw 9-2 and people were saying Nolf next topic, Nolf dominated, I was thinking, hey, Pentalio probably kept it close early. Nolf got maybe one takedown and then, got an escape and a takedown and a takedown and a ride out to finish. Something like that was kind of where my mind went of how the match went, as opposed to takedown and turn. And then in the last two periods, he didn't really get close to a takedown. It wasn't like there was a bunch of scrambles. He didn't wear him out. So, it's like if I'm coaching Michigan, I'm thinking this can be a competitive match at Nationals. I really am.
Yeah, because if you really break it down, there was one sequence that really led to 7 of his 9 points. It was a takedown, 4-point near fall, and riding time.
Yeah.
So in one sequence, in one period, he scored 7 out of his 9 points.
And so when we're saying, I'm not saying this is an easy match for Pentalio to win, because it's not, because he can't get away from Jason Nolf. It's almost, and he can't ride him.
And he
So
has
that's 2 points.
He has gotten turned a couple of times.
Yeah, so
this wasn't the first time he's gotten turned.
He can't be on bottom, right? So
right.
In that essence, it's a very tough match to win. But if you can go, if you're thinking this is winnable, if Pentalio can go no takedown, and I didn't think I'd be saying that about Jason Nolf this year. There's a guy who had a winnable match against him. If he goes no takedown and then he doesn't choose bottom and Nolf chooses bottom, that's 1-0. You got to get one takedown to win the match. If it's takedown, the other person escapes, it's 2-2. Then you have to get 2 takedowns essentially. Yeah, but man, I just thought I was impressed how close Alec Pentalio kept it. And that's that's a guy who we talk about, very, very up and down wrestler, kind of all over the place. I'm interested to see it again. I didn't think I'd be saying that about any Jason Nolf matches. I'm interested to see that match again at Big Tens.
Yeah, Pentalio is a guy that I really, really like. He's rugged, he's tough, he comes after you, stays in your face. I really like, the way he competes. And it seems like he's, after the last 2 weekends against Ohio State and Keyshawn Hayes, against Jason Nolf, even in defeat, he looked like he's starting to hit his stride or look like the Pentalio that we've been accustomed to seeing over the course of the last 3 years.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. He's looking like, and so I think the story that he had mono was probably true. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
He's looking a lot better recently, and obviously, I think I don't want to say he's my favorite to make the NCAA finals, but I think there's a decent chance of that.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. So moving forward, would you make, and I think I already know the answer to this, I just want to get your thoughts. So moving ahead, when you're looking at the Big Ten, potential showdown in the finals, Nolf, Pentalio.
Well, that's not a given, right? I was even thinking about this, and I would have to look back through Pentalio's exact record, but you got Deacon and Berger also. So shoot, if Pentalio had a couple bad losses, if he moves down to the 4, that could be the semi.
That's the semis. So would you?
Could be. I don't know. I don't know. We'd have to look through the exact Big Ten results of Alec Pentalio's season.
So I guess my question was going to be, would you, those changes in execution that you suggested, obviously trying to, if you can get through the first period 0-0 without giving a takedown, without going underneath, and then you choose neutral when it becomes your choice, would you make those changes for the next match, or would you hold off? Because if you make those changes, that gives Nolf a chance to adjust going into NCAAs. Would you hold off?
It's not like you're doing anything sneaky, man. It's like you gotta. Yeah. You gotta wrestle the perfect match. You gotta, keep great position. Don't let Jason Nolf in because he's a great finisher. You can't take any bad shots, and you got to execute and get a takedown on a guy who's really tough to take down. I think that's, I don't think it's like, hey, we're gonna employ these sneaky tactics. I think it's like you have to execute the perfect match, and you might as well try to do it the first time you get practice at it. That's kind of, I don't know what I would think about it.
And it's not like this strategy is an epiphany to anybody out there, right?
No, not at all. Not at all.
This is what you have to do. It's just doing it, knowing what to do and actually doing it are, in most cases, a lot more difficult than the thought actually is.
Absolutely. Okay, Chenzo Massa, um, overtime match. This match has been close before. You know, neither one of them. I don't want to say either one of them was like super close to a takedown during regulation. Uh, and then that overtime scramble is kind of weird because as Vincenzo gets to rear standing, Massa kind of like stops wrestling, and then Vincenzo got the takedown with like point 0.5 seconds left or something like that. So, man, I don't know what to glean off this except it's going to be a freaking close match every time between these two. Is that's
Yeah,
probably fair enough, right?
yeah, I thought so. I mean, I thought it was a delayed inevitability. Yeah, I really was impressed with the
So you
way
think there's
even
no
even
way? So wait, delayed inevitability. That means Matt, you're
in this
saying
match,
that
in this
Logan
match,
Massa.
in this match.
Well, let's see. Answer this tough question for me. Will
Okay.
Logan Massa ever take down Vincenzo Joseph in future matches?
Not based upon what I saw on Friday night. I mean,
Ooh,
he didn't really sniff it,
yeah, he didn't
right?
sniff it.
I
No,
mean,
he didn't.
you I mean, the thing about Joseph, I mean, everybody knows. I mean, his baseline defense and his hips are
Incredible.
probably, yeah, one of the best I've ever seen. I mean, just phenomenal. So just getting to the leg is not enough. I mean, with a guy like that, you've got
Yes.
to almost, I mean, you've got to use multiple setups to get him not just out of initial position, but also beat his secondary reaction as well before you
Yes.
actually get into the leg attack. Because you can get him out of position, but and get to his leg, but typically that's not enough. You may have taken his head and his chest out of position,
Well,
but
and
if you,
even that's pretty hard. So don't
yeah,
make that sound too simple.
right. Just doing that initial thing is difficult, but actually getting his feet and hips out of position as well. I mean, it's we haven't seen many people do it.
No.
And based upon what I saw Massa, I mean, I didn't really see that coming. I mean, I don't see him getting through
So
Vincenzo's hips.
how do you feel about the criticism of Logan Massa? And he was awesome as a freshman. He almost, I don't know if you say almost, should have almost beat Vincenzo at nationals. Um, that he just, he's just shooting straight on all the time. I mean, what do you think about that criticism? Think it's fair or not?
No, I think it's fair. I mean, that's kind of all I saw in this match. I mean,
Yeah.
he didn't really didn't get to an angle, and so I mean, that just kind of compounds the problem. Like,
Yes.
if you're shooting straight in at Vincenzo Joseph, like, forget about it. Unless you're Jordan Burroughs, right?
Sure.
Um,
Well, we haven't seen that go down. So that would be interesting to see what happens.
that could be, but I mean, typically most guys out there, if you're going straight on and trying to blow through that guy's hips, I mean, you might want to jump into a Mack truck before you decide to go that tactic. But I mean, going back to what my previous comment about a delayed inevitability, I meant in this match. I thought Vincenzo
Sure.
Joseph brought a ton of pressure. He was constantly like snapping, snapping, snapping. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, for 7 straight minutes, he didn't have a lot of high offensive output, but the
Yes.
pressure that he was creating, it just seemed like at a certain point, Massa's like just keeping him at bay. Eventually, he was
Really?
gonna
I
get
so
to
I
it.
didn't I don't know if I felt that way because Massa was taking more frequent attacks, although none of them were very close. So I would say, like you said, Vincenzo more pressure, Massa more attacks, although not very many of Massa's attacks were very close to scoring takedowns. Um, I did think he had more attacks, and so I mean,
Yeah, but
I don't.
were the
No,
attacks to get away from his pressure? Because
no,
sometimes guys
I think
shoot to
that's just
shoot just because,
yeah. I see what you're
yeah,
saying.
because he's creating so much pressure on the head. He's like, I got to get the heck out of here. I'm just
I
gonna
don't think
shoot.
that's
I'm
the
gonna
case.
level
I
change and shoot.
I think that's just what Logan Massa does. But to your point, he wasn't very close to a takedown really ever in the match, and so he's going to have to do something different. He's going to have to be a little more creative. If he doesn't bring anything else to the table, and who knows? Maybe we'll go back to the drawing board. He will. He's not going to get he's not going to get the takedown of Vincenzo. So
No, I don't think so. I mean, there
absolutely
was one other sidebar to this match, and it was And I know we're getting to the point where we're raging against the machine with this call, but it was like the tail of two hands
Hands
to
to the
the
face.
tail of two hands to the face, right? Masses seemed a bit more incidental, and even I mean, it seemed like his palm was right on the forehead. He was nowhere near the eye or the
Yeah.
mouth or the nose. It seemed
Vincenzo
like
was right in the
clearly.
face, though.
Oh, it was that one totally intentional. I mean, he was in trouble. I mean, that was
Yeah,
one of the positions where Massa actually
yeah.
had the advantage, and Joseph was like, "I'll take the point. Like, I'll get in his
Yes.
face. I'll." I mean, he did the old
Right in the face.
Heisman pose on him. You know, it's
Uh,
complete stiff arm.
hey, I know we're gonna get to this. You just brought up the refereeing and what we talked about last week. So I had to bring this up. Caden Gefeller, Max Thompson. Exactly what we talked about last
Yeah,
week, Matt. So their rear. So first of all, Gefeller like holds him into rear standing. You know, he like clinches the hands in, and so he gets a stall warning. So then Thompson drops on the leg, and Gefeller sits the corner and holds him in there. And so he got two stalling calls right in a row for a
yeah.
point, and then the match went to overtime. Which without that call, it's not going to overtime. It's like the ref should have recognized, not went by the book, but recognized exactly what was happening and, called to the stalemate or not made that call or I don't know, something else than what happened. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, because then you're definitely, as a referee, you're definitely inserting yourself into the match, and by the book, did he make the call that
Yes,
needed to be?
by the
Yeah,
book, it was
but
correct.
again, it's
But it
just
was ridiculous.
yeah,
Oh man. Okay, let's go back to Penn State. Okay, can I ask you about something else? And if you don't want to
sure.
say, if you don't want to give a critical, Ken Shertel is driving me crazy. Why is Big Ten Network hiring him? Uh, you know, he just like he's not in touch with wrestling today. He's like in the Kassar match, he was asking who Kassar. Oh no, he kept calling him Caesar first of all, and then he kept calling him Cesar after Shane Sparks must have wrote a little note to him or something. So he's calling him Caesar. Then he's calling him Cesar, and then he's asking who he beat and who he lost to. And last week I flipped on. I think it was Illinois versus Ohio State, and he was doing the same thing. Like, if you're the announcer, you can't be asking the other announcer who people lost to. Like, you're supposed to be the expert here. You're supposed to be telling us what's going on, not spending time while the match is going on, asking about who else they wrestled during the season. And then I can't remember. I think it might have been Barone Keyshawn. There was some kind of awesome sequence, and Shertel is telling a story, and he doesn't even acknowledge this awesome sequence of wrestling that's happened and just keeps telling his story. I'm like, wait, are they not even acknowledging what's going on? They're supposed to be announcing this match, and he's freaking telling a story about something. Like, oh my gosh. Um, that's
I
all I
mean,
got.
honestly, for me, I get where you're coming from. I actually think that Shurto, he's actually I like his commentary. I wish I
Really?
agree to your point. I wish he definitely didn't do his homework in situations, and he kind of made that obvious by speaking directly to Sparks about that and getting that. But I think that Ken brings a lot of knowledge to the table that people might not give him credit for. But I get some of your criticism there, and I think it
Well,
is
I mean, Matt,
warranted.
if that's your job, if they're gonna hire you, you got to at least spend an hour. Look, I mean, you only got 20 wrestlers to do, right? Like when me and you were on this podcast, I mean, we could jump around from team to team to team to team. I mean, right? We might talk about 10 different teams in one episode. And that's 100 wrestlers. So yeah, we can't have their results memorized because sometimes we get on here, we don't know exactly who we're talking about. We just start going and it flows into somebody. But when you literally have 20 guys to know about, you have 20 guys, 10 guys on
Yeah,
each
that's
team.
true.
Like,
So
figure
I
out
don't
some of their
know.
results.
Yeah.
Give it a quick peek. Go read their bio on their website. You only got 20 guys to worry about.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting to me how the Big Ten selects their commentators. I have no knowledge about how they select them.
I also
Um,
have no idea. I know Shane, so I could maybe ask him, but I don't want to pick fights between him and his fellow broadcasters or something. But I
yeah,
think
so I
that
don't.
I
I
think
mean,
they
I
should.
don't know if I mean, I know that Ken. I know that Ken lived in State College. I've
But he did
he
the Ohio State Illinois last week.
right. Yeah, I
So
guess for the Penn State match, I was wondering if he's in State College And that makes, from a logistical standpoint, the most sense
Well,
to pair him up with Shane.
sometimes and I can't speak for that pairing, but sometimes they just put him in Chicago and they do a remote broadcast.
True.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I don't know if that was the case with that one, but yeah, just when he doesn't know, and like you're saying, I wouldn't disagree from a knowledge standpoint of what's going on. He's not that far off usually, but just from a when he stops and starts asking about people's results, like I'm trying to remember who it was in the Ohio State. It might have been Miles Martin and Emery Parker or something like that, but he was like asking about their results. And I was like, what in the heck is going on? Or maybe it was Illinois. I think it might have been Illinois, Iowa. I'm mistaken. Yeah. Anyways. Okay,
Yeah,
fine.
I mean, I
Oh
think
no,
it
I
happened.
know exactly what it was. Shane,
Okay.
I remember or Shane. Um Matt, I remember it was Shane goes, Ken goes, who did Jacob Warner lose to? And Shane goes, well, he lost to blah, blah, blah. And he got tech fouled by Tanner Sloan from South Dakota State. And Ken goes, that's pretty surprising. And it was like, wait, what? Like, that's just not the proper response to what's going on. Right.
So
Oh, it was funny.
it is
Sorry.
warranted, and it did, I think, happen a couple times last week. It did happen a couple times this past weekend. So yeah, I mean, you kind of know what you're signing up for.
Got
You
to know your
you
subject
bet.
matter.
Yeah, you got to know that. That's the prerequisite if you want to get on camera, right? Or provide, expert commentary. But yeah, I think that's warranted.
Okay, so let's go Hall Amine. Man, another one where Penn State doesn't get an offensive takedown. Hall scored off Miles Amin's shot in the third period. Um, the first scramble that they were in was I thought it was fantastic on both guys' part.
For
It was
sure.
just really high level, really technical, really aggressive. Both guys scrambling. Obviously, no points came out of that, but really good match. Another one where it's 3-2, but you're still gonna say you have a hard time ever seeing Miles Amine beat him, right? Isn't that what you're
I
saying?
do. I do. I mean, I wish that was a beautiful, beautiful attack right at the beginning of the match,
And
and
that
you're
the
like,
whole yeah, it was awesome.
it's just unbelievable. Like you said, both guys, just unbelievable high level wrestling. But when you look at Amin, it's like, where was that at throughout the match? I mean, he kind of went
Yeah,
away
I
from it.
mean, well, I feel like Mark Hall is a dangerous scrambler, so I feel like maybe he got in there and and I feel like he held his own in the scramble when I watched it, but maybe there was something that he felt that he didn't really like, when he got in that scramble and thought, "Oh man, if I don't get the perfect shot, I'm gonna get scored on off of this."
I mean, I think I would like you to expound on that because I don't think that's talked about very often. Is the seed of doubt that's planted by great defensive wrestlers? It makes you gun shy, right? Like
Yeah,
we're looking at Amin, like he had a beautiful setup, a beautiful shot, actually came close to scoring a number of times in that scramble. But what we often don't talk about is the seed of doubt that you actually plant in the guy's mind. And there's nobody
yeah,
better to talk
definitely.
about that than you. So
Yeah.
give us a little insight into your thought process because you were I mean, you made your living out of those positions.
Well, I mean, and so it's I can't be inside Miles Amin's head, so that's why. And like to what I was watching, I didn't see it. I wasn't like, oh my God, Mark Hall almost scored 3 times. Miles Amin probably shouldn't shoot again. That wasn't what I was thinking. I thought Miles Amin held his own, but there's nothing better than taking someone's best attack and you score off them. You know how much that screws with their head. I mean, when someone literally
Com-
gives you their best attack and you score off them, they're like, "Oh, F my life. I'm not shooting anymore." I mean, it's one of those things.
yeah.
So, but I'm saying I didn't see that in here. I didn't see it. I thought Miles held his own in the scramble. I was kind of surprised by his reaction where he wasn't shooting anymore. And he does take a attacking in the third period, and Mark Hall scores off him, and that's the one takedown in the match. And as close as this match appears to be, I just don't know that Miles Means got the goods to beat Mark Hall. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking after watching this. And obviously, it's not the first time we've watched this match. I think it's going to be a 3-2, 4-2 match every time, but I don't see Mark Hall losing.
And it's kind of, I think this is probably, the frustrating thing for Michigan right now after the dual meet and you're going back to the drawing board. It just seems like wherever Michigan is very good, Penn State's just a little bit better.
Yeah,
At 57, their guy is really, really good.
yes,
He's just not as good as Nolf. Their
yeah.
guy at 65, really, really good. It just doesn't appear that he's better than Joseph. And same thing at 74. They're really, really good.
And 41. I
And
mean,
41. Yeah.
Caden Stewart's good, but Nickley beat him.
Yeah.
So
Heavyweight too.
hey,
Right?
let's talk about. Okay, listen. I'll give you that Cassar kicked his butt. I cannot believe the amount of power generated in that bridge by Mason Paris in the first period. Do you know? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, he almost did the old bench press off his back, right?
But then Cassar did a full barrel roll off of it. I was like, hot damn, how did he get that much power? I mean, seriously.
Yeah, that was that almost looked like a WWE clear when you're almost getting ready to get the third count, the third slap on the mat, and you just throw the guy off. I mean, it was similar to that.
Rolled over the ref and kicked the referee. It was like, how did he get that much power, man? It's a freaking heavyweight. Wow.
Dude, there was so much power on that mat at 285.
And I'll tell you, Cassar kicked his butt, and Paris ain't going to beat him this year. But I was, even in his butt kicking, I was impressed with Mason Paris. He kept attacking. He stayed in it. He got a couple takedowns of his own. He just, isn't quite technical enough to go with Cassar yet. But, man, I'm thinking in a year or two, he's going to be a very, very impressive heavyweight. And he's good this year. But I feel like he's just going to make huge jumps in the next couple of years. And I think, when you come out of this duel, I think you're thinking Michigan's good. Michigan's next couple of years, they're going to be really, really good. Because if you look through their lineup, the only person that they lose, I think, is Alec Pantaleo. And he's already been beaten this year by Lil Luan, who's redshirting for them. So, I think when you look at that lineup, damn, they're going to be good next year. And obviously, Penn State loses quite a bit. They lose Cassar and Neville's at heavyweight. They lose Nickel. They lose Shakur. They lose Nolf. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot of points to replace right there. And I know they have some good recruits, but you can't. I don't want to say you can't make up a Nolf and Nickel, but making up a Nolf and Nickel that's really, really difficult.
Yeah, and I think with Cassar, I think they are. Isn't he trying to get a sixth year? I believe that's what the attempt is.
And Neville's are.
Yeah, so potentially they could have those guys back. But yeah, I mean, it seems like, it's going to be an interesting conversation next year.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is at heavyweight is if you get another year out of Nolf and Nickel, that's 30 points, almost guaranteed. But another year out of Cassar, heavyweight's not getting easier. Heavyweight's going to be tougher next year than it is this year.
Yeah, and I think getting a year under his belt at 285, it's obviously, I mean, he feels comfortable there. I think there's going to be some guys like the Whites and the bigger guys. Well, it remains to be seen how he fares against a big guy like Stoll, but he looks really comfortable. But you could almost argue he might slide down the podium next year with the more maturity and development from Mason Paris, from Gable Stevenson, from
Trent Hilger. You got Trent Hilger.
Hilger.
Colton Schultz is going to wrestle right away. You got Kirk Villette probably going to wrestle right away. Who's the other? There's another good freshman that we're forgetting about in there somewhere. So and I'm not saying that. Who the heck are we forgetting about?
Tanner Hall is going to be back next year.
Tanner Hall's back.
Not that that's going to be. I mean.
And I wouldn't say he's going to slide down too much, but even if it's one of the things that makes Nolf and Nickel so good, they're going to bonus every match.
Yeah.
And Cassar's, against those best guys, he's going to have a tough, he's going to have a tough time getting the same amount of points they get. So, we'll be.
I would like to say, just adding on to Mason Paris, that guy didn't tuck his tail and run. He was getting his butt kicked.
Yeah, that's what I
But
loved.
I'll give him credit, man. I mean, he stood toe to toe. He kept coming out, and that's how you close the gap. And I don't think I can't say to what was going on in his mind, but he's like, okay, I'm going to just keep wrestling this guy. I got to figure him out. So this, just because the outcomes probably is foregone, and I know this match is out of reach. If I'm going to close the gap in the next 6 weeks, and even before Big Tens, I'm going to keep wrestling this guy. because the more I wrestle him and the more I make him wrestle me, the more I'm going to figure him out. So I was impressed that he didn't tuck tail. He didn't just, you know, do what a lot of guys do when they, you know, the match is out of reach and just belly out and, you know, kill
Yep.
time. I mean, I was impressed that he kept bringing it.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I was impressed with that also. Um, okay, good duel. Let's go on to we got about 10 minutes left. Let's go Ashnault Kolodzik. And I
All
didn't watch
right.
the whole duel, but I you know I kind of followed the results. Um, the duels I read and I'm sure this is an embellishment. And I don't remember if it was Coach Ayers or Coach Goodale, but they said when they first wrestled, I think both of them started around the same time. They had 22 people in the stands, and I think they had like 6,000 or something. And the crowd was the crowd at the rack. Those Jersey people, they're kind of insane. Um,
They're nuts. They're out of their minds.
they're nuts,
And
but
I think they would love it if we said that. They're out of their minds, and they're gonna be excited when we say that.
yeah. Do you? I mean, like if you're watching that, there was that little clip of Carenti. I believe that's the heavy, or is it Colucci or Carenti? It's one of those names. I think that's their 97 and their heavyweight. The heavyweight had to get the major to get the win for
Yep.
Rutgers, and he got the major. And the crowd, they're going freaking bonkers. It was wild. Oh my goodness, it was really wild up in there.
From
Um,
an environment, I know that, and I agree with you that Rec Hall is the toughest place to wrestle in the country, but the rack, that place was bouncing. I mean, it
yeah,
was, you
awesome.
couldn't ask for a better environment. And that, you know, to compliment, you know, Coach Goodale and what he's built up at Rutgers over the past decade, from crickets in the stands to I think they're averaging just under 5,000 people per
Nice.
dual
Yeah,
meet this year. I
yeah.
mean, that's amazing. That's awesome.
That's totally awesome. And you know the other thing, and I saw there was a little clip of the post match stuff, but it's like Jersey has such good wrestling. Um, and really, even you could I don't want to say you include like that Long Island, New York City area, and man, you got a ton of good people in there who could mix it up, and if they can keep those guys home, if they can keep those kids excited, if they can get those kids in the freaking rack and watch Anthony Ashnault become number one in the country, they're going to have a lot of really, really, really good kids coming to Rutgers, and they're going to have a good program for a long time.
Yeah, because I think, you know, there's some detractors out there that say there could be a better guy for the job at, you know, than Goodale. I don't agree with that. They don't understand what it takes to build a program, build
Who says
stability, build
that?
growth.
Someone
I
said that?
there's uninformed people that make comments that are
Really?
unwarranted, that they think that Rutgers
Wow.
should automatically be a top 5 team, and I think eventually they're gonna get there, but I think over the course of 10 years, they still haven't been able to. Now they got Ashnault, they got Soriano. I mean, they, you know, on the rebound, they got Soriano, but
Wait, did,
outside of that, who have been their big guys that were the number 1 guys in Jersey, in the country, that stayed at home
well,
for
they did.
Rutgers?
Remember the one that they had initially who didn't pan out was Scott Winston.
Right.
Um, And I believe I'd have to now you put me on the spot, Matt. I'm gonna go to the roster real quick.
Now, did Campolitano come to Rutgers right out of the gates, or did he go? No, he went Ohio State, then Rutgers,
Then
right?
Rutgers, yeah. And he was, you know, he never was that great. I think he was just kind of ahead of his time as far as college wrestling, as far as high school wrestling is concerned. Um, but you know, I think there was a few other guys that didn't make it, and but you're gonna get that, right? I mean, no
Yeah,
Penn State included, no program's gonna get all of their blue chips to be great. So
right.
I think, and listen, I can be critical, some very critical sometimes. I think they're doing a great job at Rutgers. I think
Phenomenal.
if you remember how bad Rutgers was 10 years ago and how good they are, that's a really good program. So yeah, I think big ups to them. I think so let's get into this Ashnault match. Joe Grello, that's who I was thinking of. He was really highly ranked, and he's not doing great, but you know, we'll give him a few. Um, man, Ashnault put it on him. This one, if we go, I was kind of saying the North and Pantaleo was close and it was 9-2. This one wasn't close in any sense of the imagination. Takedowns, turns, escapes, he got it all.
No, I mean, he controlled the match in every single position. I mean, that was the first time I've never really seen Kolodzik just flat out get beat. I mean,
Yeah.
where you couldn't revisit it and said, "Well, if this went different, if that went different, the outcome could have been different." I don't care what the scenario was. This outcome was guaranteed
That was a
right from the
butt kicking.
get-go.
How
I
about
mean,
that
it was
move? How about the move that Ashnault put him on his back with twice from the sit out? There's a local coach. I'm not gonna say it is. There's a local coach, and that's kind of like a secret move. And I always thought, hey, that's kind of a goofy move or a junky move, you know? And then
yeah,
Ashnault hits it twice on the number one guy in the
twice,
country. Twice.
twice.
Oh man.
I
Oh,
mean,
that was
and
good.
that goes to match preparation, coaching,
Yes.
understanding because these guys have seen each other. I mean,
Yeah.
they're right next to each other in New Jersey. I know they share a regional training center. That doesn't mean that they train that often together, and I would be surprised if they do. But
Yeah.
they've wrestled 4 times in college already. There's a lot of familiarity there. You know, both being even though Kolodzik is from Ohio, he wrestled at Blair, um, and then Ashnault being a Jersey guy. So there's a high level of familiarity even back to their high school days. But for them, for them to pick up that this was an opportunity because Kolodzik does go to a sit out almost all
All the
the time.
time.
That's kind of his
Yeah.
go-to. They were ready for that, and obviously it's not like it didn't look like Ashnault just pulled this out of his butt and said, "Okay, I'm gonna see if this
Uh-huh.
happens." It looked like he knew it was coming, and this was his answer.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And he hit it hard and hit it fast. It was awesome, awesome transition. He was all fired up and the rack was going nuts. I thought it was just an awesome scene. I loved the match. Um, and
And,
that's all I
and Princeton did add some fuel to the fire before
I
pre-match,
love it. I
right?
love it. Yeah.
Which is great. I mean,
It's great.
I didn't mind. I mean, I mean, Coach Ayers felt the need to say, "Hey, yeah, you got us," but if he just believes in his wrestler. Before the
Yeah.
match, he said he didn't think Ashnault could score in Klodzik. And as a coach and as an athlete, you want that belief from your coach in yourself and
Yeah.
vice versa.
Yeah.
So I didn't think it was bulletin board material. I think it was Chris Ayers just saying, "This is what I believe, and this is how good I believe my guy is." And obviously, Ashnault, not that he needed any extra motivation, but yeah, I'm sure he used that. Obviously, he was giving him the double digits,
I
with his
loved it.
finger, the 10 digits after the match, which I think was good. I didn't think it was like him being a punk. He was just like, "Hey, there's your answer. You said 0 points?"
That's just how they do it in Jersey,
Yeah.
Matt. That's how they
Yeah.
settle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
It's
I didn't it just seemed a lot more natural. This is my natural emotion. Like, I'm not
Yep.
trying to trash talk or do anything. This is my emotion after the match. And, yeah, I thought it was great.
Yeah, I agree. I loved it. Okay, hey, let's cut it there. We come back for our next episode. Here's what we're gonna go: Iowa, Nebraska, Oklahoma State had two big duels, and then we're gonna talk about Ohio State a little bit, which is gonna lead up to Ohio State, Penn State this week. So you got any final words for everybody?
No, no, this is
All right,
great. We got
that was
so much
fun.
more to talk about. Yeah, let's, looking forward to our next one.
All right, Matt, I will talk to you next time.
All right. Well, take care.